Scams are everywhere, on your phone, in your inbox, even on your television screen. Looking at you, Tindler Swindler, what is it about scams that has pop culture so obsessed? Maybe it's because it can happen to anyone. Or maybe it's because we're all deeply fascinated by the psyche of someone who can lie with ease, cheat with no guilt, and convince the world they are who they say they are, even when they're not. Scamfluencers is a weekly podcast that takes you into the world of deception, sharing the stories of today's most notorious scams. Like the recent episode of Natalie Cochran, the pharmacist femme fatale. It seemed like she had it all, a good job, loving husband, and 2 kids. But behind the scenes, Natalie was scamming friends and family, using fake contracts, fake government emails. She even faked cancer. But when the walls started closing in, she'll do anything to keep the lie alive until someone ends up dead. Listen to Scamfluencers now, wherever you get your podcasts.
If you love chilling mysteries, unsolved cases, and a touch of mom-style humor, Moms and Mysteries is the podcast you've been searching for. Hey guys, I'm Mandy.
And I'm Melissa. Join us every Tuesday for Moms and Mysteries, your gateway to gripping, well-researched true crime stories. Each week, we deep dive into a variety of mind-boggling cases as we shed light on everything from heists to whodunits. We're your go-to podcast for mysteries with a motherly touch. Subscribe now to Moms and Mysteries wherever you get your podcasts.
Criminology is a true crime podcast that may contain discussion about violent or disturbing topics. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 386 of the Criminology podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson.
And this is Mike Morford.
Mr. Morford, how you doing this week, buddy?
Doing pretty good. You and I were talking about our disturbed sleep patterns going into this week. So I think I'm just now recovering, getting back on my normal sleep schedule, and hopefully you're able to do the same.
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's like we talked about, I guess, to fill in the audience. When you go to bed and then wake up like 2 or 3 hours later and you think you've had a full night's sleep, but it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, that throws me off like nothing else and wrecks my whole day because I can't go back to sleep. And then obviously my schedule gets really thrown off.
And that makes you cranky, and that's not a good thing.
No, not a good thing at all. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had new support from A. Hunt, so we really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for that. It really helps us out. Anyone else that would like to support the show, please head over to patreon.com/criminology.
All right, we're quickly diving into this week's case, and this is one that's making headline news right now because a little girl is missing under mysterious circumstances, and time is of the essence. As law enforcement races to figure out what happened to her, there are many people that think that her mother possibly holds the key to finding her. We're talking about the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard from Lompoc, California.
The mystery surrounding Melodee Buzzard's disappearance began on October 14, 2025, when she was reported missing. It wasn't a parent or family member that contacted the authorities. It was actually an administrator at the Lompoc Unified School District in Lompoc, California, who requested that officers make contact with Melodee because it had been so long since anyone had heard from her. This is district policy based on too many absences or a failure to complete assignments. In August 2025, Melodee was enrolled by her mother, Ashlee Buzzard, so that she could begin independent study, which is a program that allows students to complete school off campus, but under teacher supervision. After Melodee was enrolled, she never started any of the schoolwork and dropped from sight, prompting the concern from the school.
A social worker first tried to contact Melodee's mother, 40-year-old Ashlee Buzzard, at her home in Vandenberg Village, a community in Lompoc, on October 14th. The social worker knocked on the door, but there was no answer. On October 15th, police officers from the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office accompanied CPS officials to the home, and this time Ashlee answered. But when questioned by police about Melodee's whereabouts, she couldn't or wouldn't provide them with any information about where she was at or why she hadn't engaged in school activities. We don't know how the exact conversation between Ashlee and the police went, but clearly she wasn't helpful, and she didn't allow police to enter her home. Fearing that Melodee was in danger, police acted quickly and obtained a search warrant to enter Ashlee's home, and when they did, Melodee was nowhere to be found. And I think Morf, this is starting off rocky. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, people are concerned. They raise that concern to the police. Police go out to the home, and the mother is said to have, not been cooperative. That raises a red flag, I think, at least on the part of police, right away. We're talking about a 9-year-old girl. Now, I get it. There are some people who, they don't want the police in their house. They're not going to voluntarily either give them information or allow the police to search their home. They may, want to exercise that right, but that's not going to stop the police from being suspicious if they think there's something possibly going on with this, young girl.
Yeah, what concerns me is just the fact that Ashlee doesn't give them any answers. If somebody shows up at my house, I think this is probably true of most parents, and they're like, hey, we're here to check on the welfare of your child. We think something's happened. The school hasn't heard from her. She's not doing her work. What's going on here? I'm going to cooperate. I'm going to say, okay, well, maybe they were out sick, whatever the case is. I'm going to answer their questions. I'm going to show them my child and say, here she is right here. She's safe. She's fine. But that didn't happen here. Instead, Ashlee's not giving them answers, and it's probably going to lead to more questions and more concerns.
Yeah, I think at the very least, right? She's not doing anything to help alleviate the concern.
With Ashlee not cooperating with police, they had to speak to neighbors, friends, and family to try and figure out where Melodee was. At first, no one was even sure when Melodee had actually been seen last. There was a lot of confusion surrounding the actual date that Melodee disappeared, and the photo of her that's been recently being used in articles is a couple years old. But because Ashlee wouldn't cooperate, investigators couldn't find a more recent photo of Melodee. Neighbors told police that they couldn't pinpoint the last time they had even seen Melodee because she wasn't outside very often.
At one point, it was thought that perhaps Melodee had been missing for an entire year by the time a welfare check was requested. However, officials with the Lompoc Unified School District were able to clarify that Melodee had been enrolled in the Independent Studies program at Mission Valley Independent Study School in August, 2 months earlier, and she was okay at that point, but then dropped completely out of contact. None of her assignments had been picked up. Surveillance video would help police verify that. It looks like Melodee was alive and well, and with her mom Ashlee on October 7th, just days before the welfare check. That's when Ashlee rented a white Chevy Malibu in Lompoc and took off on a road trip with what turned out to be confusing and senseless routes. Video footage from the rental car office on October 7th shows Ashlee wearing a large blonde sort of curly wig. She's not alone in the video. The person with her was shorter, wearing a sweater with the hood up like they were trying to cover up their hair. In fact, before they make it inside the building, you can see some long, straight black hair hanging down out of the hood, but once they're inside the lobby, the hair has been completely tucked up into the hoodie. Despite this apparent disguise, it's pretty clear Melodee was with Ashlee. Melodee doesn't look like she's afraid of Ashlee in the surveillance video. Without knowing them or having any other videos of them under normal circumstances to compare this to, it's hard to tell for sure. The only thing that makes them memorable is, again, the wigs. It appears as though they were wearing disguises, which obviously leads to the question, why would that be? And I said this thing kind of starts off rocky with police questioning Ashlee. She's not being very, forthcoming with information. And I think, when this video surfaces, it just adds another layer to the confusion. Why would a mom and daughter go rent a car with both of them apparently wearing wigs? And Melodee, trying to kind of hide her hair, face, whatever with this hoodie. I don't know. It just seems kind of strange.
Yeah, definitely. And, unless it's Halloween and they're going to some kind of party, it's not normal behavior. Most people aren't, putting wigs on and disguising themselves and then taking a road trip to boot. When you add to the fact that Ashlee hasn't been cooperating or answering questions, it starts to paint a bad light, and really, a lot of bad things can come to mind.
Now, to be fair, there are people who wear wigs, right? That's not out of the question, but this seems to not be the norm. You would think, especially for a 9-year-old girl who's healthy and has no need for a wig, it's very strange.
Authorities were able to track Melodee's last sighting during that road trip to October 9th, somewhere near the border of Utah and Colorado. But by October 10th, when Ashlee returned from that strange road trip, there was no sign of Melodee. Ashlee was still driving the rented Malibu, solo. Apparently, Ashlee came back to California while wearing a long, straight, dark wig, just like the one they believe Melodee had been wearing on October 7th. A press statement from the sheriff's office noted that this change in appearance is believed to have been intentional to avoid recognition during travel.
Investigators feel that the truth about what happened to Melodee lies somewhere on the route Ashlee traveled, but there are just so many long stretches of isolated desert along this route that you can't possibly search it all. There are a ton of national parks and hiking trails in the area. This scenario reminds a lot of people of the last sighting of 16-year-old Tylee Ryan being at Yellowstone National Park. Many believe that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell killed Tylee somewhere in the wilderness there, but that trip may have been to misdirect resources and make authorities waste time searching an entire national park.
Police also discovered another troubling detail in Melodee's case. Ashlee had switched license plates. The rented car initially had a California license plate. She had been driving the same rental car the entire trip, but by October 8th, the car had New York plates that weren't registered to Ashlee. As of the time of this recording, we haven't heard yet whether these plates were stolen, borrowed, purchased, or fake. We just know that they apparently didn't belong to Ashlee and had no business being on the rental car. According to multiple reports, Ashlee doesn't have a vehicle of her own and relies on rides, usually using Uber or Lyft. Perhaps if and when police figure out how Ashlee came to have these New York plates, it may provide more clues about Melodee.
So we have the wigs, the hoodies, the plate switching, this road trip, the failure by Ashlee to cooperate with police, trying to find her daughter. All of this paints a disturbing picture. They're all clear indicators of someone on the run, trying to avoid detection, but as far as we know, there was no one looking for them when these things happened. The welfare check was requested on October 14th, but the road trip began a full week earlier. A lot of people have insinuated that this indicates some kind of premeditation for something, but exactly what that something is, we don't know.
Police began to look closer at the timeline leading up to Melodee vanishing. Prior to registering with the Lompoc School District, Melodee was supposedly being homeschooled, but according to the California Department of Education, Ashlee has never filed a private school affidavit, the paperwork required to legally homeschool in the state of California. Melodee's aunt, Elizabeth Meza, told CBS News, "She deserves to be playing with her friends, cousins in school. I mean, there's just so much this innocent little girl is missing out on." And she added that keeping her isolated at home is not fair for her at all. But as we mentioned, neighbors say that Melodee never played outside, and they also recall that, going back as far as they can remember, no matter the weather, if Melodee went outside, she had her hair covered by a hoodie. Unfortunately for police, they really couldn't find anyone that lived close to Ashlee and Melodee that had any information.
An employee at a gas station in Utah recalled seeing Ashlee because she felt that her behavior was kind of odd. According to the employee, Ashlee wasn't alone, but she didn't see Melodee. Instead, she saw another adult woman in her late 20s or 30s wearing a purple wig. The two women in their wigs stood out even without any strange behavior happening. Authorities believe that on October 9th or 10th, Ashlee drove through the areas of Green River and Panguitch, Utah, Primm, Nevada, and Northwest Arizona, as well as Rancho Cucamonga in California. According to a statement from the sheriff's office, detectives are seeking anyone who may have had contact with Ashlee or Melodee at any point from October 9th through October 10th, or any video footage from their route of travel. Investigators didn't mention Las Vegas, just 40 minutes from Primm, Nevada. This may show that Ashlee was sticking to less populated areas during the drive.
The search for Melodee became too large for local authorities to handle on their own, so they called in the FBI, who are now overseeing the case. The investigation must take so much coordination. The trip Ashlee made spanned at least 7 states and included multiple license plates to track. Ashlee made it all the way to Nebraska and then seemed to go out of her way to loop into Kansas on her way back home. Most rental car agencies use some kind of tracking device on their vehicles in case of theft. Sometimes these trackers installed by car rental agencies ping several times throughout the day. In this case, the car rental company Ashlee dealt with hasn't been named, and we don't know what kind of tracking they have and what, if anything, police have gleaned from it.
For weeks, while police and the FBI were trying to find Melodee, her mother Ashlee kept quiet. Her silence angered her neighbors and the community so much so that people have stood outside of Ashlee's home, chanting, "Where is Melodee?" People have also been standing outside of the home, lining up on the sidewalk, holding hands, and praying for Melodee's safe return. Some people living on Ashlee Street refused to let her make a move without being watched. She was seen taking stacks of large moving boxes into the garage. One neighbor said they saw smoke and bits of paper coming out of the fireplace shortly after Ashlee returned from her road trip. Ashlee was also spotted tearing down missing posters and signs that asked, "Where is Melodee?" that had been placed in her yard by neighbors. To so many people, these things don't seem like the actions of a concerned mother. And maybe it shows that Ashlee isn't concerned because she knows where her daughter is and what happened to her. And Morf, already we've talked about a number of strange things, right, in this case, and there are a lot of strange things surrounding it. The road trip is strange. The wigs, all of that people have been commenting on and talking about. But, to me, the non-cooperation is super strange. When you get to the point where people are standing outside of your house chanting, "Where is your daughter?" They're lining up on the sidewalk, praying for your daughter and her safe return. And what's going through your mind at that point? Obviously, it's not, "Hey, I should jump in and, help, cooperate with the authorities. The FBI is now involved." It just seems so strange to kind of turtle up, right? And just shut everybody out.
Yeah, I don't think Ashlee's doing anything at all in this case to ease the minds of people that are concerned with her daughter. If anything, she's just making things worse for herself and adding more doubt and concern that something may have happened to Melodee. And I think overwhelmingly the public has not been in her favor. If anything, they're thinking that she might have something to hide.
But you can't really blame people for thinking that, right? When your actions give off that vibe, that's what's going to happen. The perception is there because of the way that she has acted. I'm a big believer in therapy. No matter what you're carrying, family conflict, self-doubt, sadness that won't quite lift, Grow Therapy is built for you. With thousands of therapists and over 90 specialties, help is closer than you think. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. And you can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There's no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is there to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as nothing, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/criminology today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/criminology, growtherapy.com/criminology. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan. You know, folks, getting new glasses is not always the easiest thing to do. For me, I always feel like there's a lot of styles to choose from, and normally somebody's standing there. So I feel like I have to hurry up and pick. Warby Parker changed all that. You know, with Warby Parker, I can take my time. I can look through their selection on my schedule, and they have a very easy quiz that helps you narrow down what you're looking for. And it was so easy, they just reached out to my optometrist and got my prescription. Warby Parker uses nothing but premium materials in each frame. They design every frame in-house, and their collection includes silhouettes, colors, and fits made to suit every face. Warby Parker offers everything you need for happier eyes: eyeglasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams. You can shop with them online and in stores, and they're so affordable. Warby Parker glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses with anti-reflective, scratch-resistant coatings. I love Warby Parker, and I think you will too. Warby Parker has over 300 locations to help you find your next pair of glasses. You can also head over to warbyparker.com/criminology right now to try on any pair virtually. That's warbyparker.com/criminology. warbyparker.com/criminology.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
As October turned to November, the hunt for Melodee continued. Sheriff Bill Brown told NBC News, "We continue to seek information from the public that could help us find Melodee." Authorities also searched a storage locker that Ashlee rents, but as far as we know, nothing useful was found inside. Authorities gave Ashlee a 72-hour deadline to produce Melodee, but it came and went without Ashlee giving police anything. The fact that Ashlee wasn't arrested immediately after the deadline expired, may show that there's no real proof that harm has come to Melodee, and that may be the only silver lining in this case.
Yeah, my thought, Morf, is it could be a silver lining. It also could be a really bad sign. I think you can look at it either way. I mean, it's one thing, to be uncooperative, to not answer questions, to not want to let, police search your house. Some people might just stand on principle and not want to do that, not want to give up their rights. Okay, you could make the argument for that. But when authorities, give you a deadline to produce your child, and that deadline comes and goes, and there's no sign of Melodee, to me, that is in a different level of being uncooperative. I mean, you have a chance to kind of make all of this go away. So you have to think, or at least question, What would be the reason for not doing that? And I think immediately many people go to, it's because she can't. Now, the reason for that, we can speculate on, but no matter what the speculation is, it doesn't seem good.
Yeah, I just go back to the fact that if she wanted to ease people's minds, get the police off her back, she would just say, here's where she is, she's fine. And since that's not happening, what are we left to believe? Most of the things you're going to believe are not good things.
Well, and my thought is, who wants people, outside of their house chanting bad stuff at them? Who wants this type of coverage? Who wants the police scrutiny? If there's any way to make that go away, you would think somebody would do that, right? No one wants to be sitting in their house with people outside, people online, people on the television chatting about how they might be a really bad person. And that's the kind of the shocking part to me. One thing that seems possible here is that Ashlee may have done whatever she did with Melodee when she did it because she knew people were about to start asking questions. The last confirmed sighting of Melodee with her mother was before officers went to the home to try to put eyes on Melodee. This raises the question, did Ashlee get some kind of warning that there was growing concerns? Well, it turns out that there are plenty of warnings before a welfare check per school district policy when Melodee didn't pick up any of her assignments and there was no word from her mother. The public school system would have sent letters, made phone calls, sent emails, and perhaps even sent a school representative to the home. All of this prior to asking for a welfare check. We don't know how much of that happened, but it seems likely attempts were made to reach out to Ashlee, so she would have known that it was only a matter of time before a welfare check was requested.
Some people theorize that Ashlee thought she'd get in trouble for not having Melodee doing the schoolwork after signing her up. But hiding her daughter and not cooperating with the police to find her seems extreme, as opposed to just cooperating and letting her do the schoolwork. Unfortunately, there really wasn't anyone around to help care for her or check on Melodee. As far as we can tell, Melodee only really had her mother in her daily life. Sadly, her father, Rolando Rubio Panoy Meza, passed away due to a motorcycle accident when she was just 6 months old. After this, her paternal family and her mother really butted heads, mostly due to Ashlee's worsening mental health and the grief they were all feeling.
We still don't know much about Ashlee's or her family's background, but some things have been pieced together. In 2017, the year after Melodee was born, Ashlee filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and as of today, she's still in bad shape financially, with multiple accounts in collections and at least 3 lawsuits launched against her over the past year. In 2021, Ashlee was taken to the hospital. There are not a lot of details, but it sounds like it may have been for mental health concerns. It was a somewhat lengthy hospitalization. It sounds like she was gone for months. During this time, Melodee's paternal grandmother began the process of trying to become her guardian.
One day, without any notice, Ashlee was released from the hospital. At this point, she still had parental rights and custody, so Ashlee unexpectedly picked Melodee up from school and just took her. After this, Ashlee changed Melodee's last name from Meza to Buzzard. Ashlee's mother, Lori Miranda, was cut off by Ashlee sometime in 2023. Ashlee also filed a restraining order against Melodee's paternal grandmother. Melodee's paternal family didn't even know that they had ever moved back to Santa Barbara County. Melodee's grandmother, Lily, told KEYT News, "She's been hiding from us, especially from me." Their relationship with Melodee had gone from visits on holidays to a hope of raising her to no contact at all. By the time of Melodee's disappearance, the rest of her family hadn't seen her for around 4.5 years.
So as we kind of fill in some of the details, some of the backstory of, Ashlee's life, we don't know all of it, right, in detail, but the things that we do know, they do paint a picture. There's financial trouble. A lot of people go through that. Potentially, there were some mental health issues in Ashlee's life. Exactly what that is and to what extent We don't really know. And then you have this relationship with, her late husband's mother and even her own mother that just kind of deteriorates and is essentially non-existent. And it's not just Ashlee, right? That goes for Melodee as well. She's essentially cut off from, a lot of the members of her family, maybe all of them.
Yeah, it's just another disturbing thing that's going on here in this story is on top of all the odd behavior and the non-cooperation, not telling people where Melodee is, she's isolated the rest of family from them. So it's really a hard situation for anyone to become involved in and help, maybe report something's wrong because they don't see anything going on because they're not in their lives. So it makes me wonder if Ashlee did all this in advance to keep people away so she could do whatever she wanted to do without someone interrupting or standing in the way.
Or at the very least, knowing something was wrong, right? No contact for 4.5 years. Well, you're not going to have much knowledge of anything that's going on in Melodee's life. Now, I get it. When it comes to her mother-in-law, some of that might have had to do with the mother-in-law petitioning for guardianship, right, of Melodee. I'm sure that didn't go over well. That could have caused a rift. But I think you do have to question the kind of isolationist aspect. We talk about it more in many cases. A lot of times we're talking about a man who is systematically kind of forcing his partner, his wife, in many cases, to kind of cut off communication with the family. That is never a good sign. In early November 2025, Ashlee was taken into custody on suspicion of false imprisonment by violence that is apparently unrelated to Melodee's disappearance. A statement from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office clarified that detectives learned of a recent incident where Ashlee prevented a victim from leaving a location against their will, which constitutes false imprisonment. Her bail was set at $100,000. For a few days, it wasn't known exactly what this incident was about, because according to the statement, detectives were unable to fully outline the crime, as it would impede their ongoing investigation. The arrest warrant was sealed, but we did find out that the alleged incident of false imprisonment occurred in Lompoc on November 6th. And finally, it was revealed that the victim was a man named Tyler Brewer.
Tyler met Ashlee over a decade ago, in 2014, after being introduced through friends. He said that Ashlee's personality has completely changed in the time he's known her, and that she's been experiencing severe paranoia. According to the LA Times, when he went to check on Ashlee and ask her about Melodee, Ashlee said that she left her with someone that he thinks is somewhere in Utah. According to Tyler, after sharing information she appeared to regret disclosing, Ashlee got extremely upset, repeatedly balling her hands up into fists and squeezing her eyes shut tight as she talked with Tyler. She not only stood in front of the door, holding a box cutter and blocking his path to leave, she actually shut the door and locked all 4 locks on the door. When she eventually let him leave the home, he headed straight to the police station to report the incident.
Tyler was clearly horrified by this incident, and he told detectives everything he knew, including that he thought Melodee was in Utah. Ashlee dropping Melodee off somewhere in Utah would fit with that last verified sighting of her near the Colorado-Utah border. Some people have expressed that they feel like this gives them hope that Melodee is still alive and that authorities will be able to find her. Melodee's paternal grandmother, Lily, told KEYT News, "I think everybody's looking and they'll find her." At the same time, concerns about Ashlee's current mental state have led some to question if any of what she has said was true, whether it was because she was intentionally making up lies or because she doesn't quite know what's real. So Morf, we talked quite a bit about Ashlee already in this episode. I mean, she is kind of at the center of everything. But then you have this very disturbing incident with this guy, Tyler Brewer. Ashlee is charged with false imprisonment. And, I think if everything shakes out to be true that's been reported, when you lock all the locks on your door and you're standing with a box cutter, not allowing somebody to leave, okay, that's not a good look. It's not a good thing. It actually could be a criminal act.
Yeah, if these things happen the way they were reported to have happened, it's just more concerning behavior on top of everything else we've talked about to this point.
And then in addition, you have this information that according to Tyler, Ashlee told him she left Melodee with someone, possibly in Utah. And it was after that she got extremely upset with him. What does that mean?
Yeah, you have to wonder, who would she be leaving her with? Does she know anyone out there? It just leads to more questions. It doesn't, unfortunately, lead to more answers.
And that can be a real source of frustration, right? With cases like this, you get information in drips and drabs. But a lot of times the information doesn't really help clarify as much as it does, really make things even more cloudy.
Ashlee was held at the Northern Branch Jail in Santa Maria, California. On November 12th, she entered a plea of not guilty to 1 count of false imprisonment. She was released from jail, but ordered to wear a GPS monitor. She was also due in court on November 13th, 19th, and 20th for pretrial hearings. Well, those proceedings happened right before we recorded this episode, and shockingly to some people, the charges against Melodee Buzzard were dropped, and she was released from custody. According to People magazine, an audio recording captured by Ashlee was played in court and seemingly disproved Tyler Brewer's claims. In the audio, Ashlee opened the door and allowed Brewer to leave her home. So Ashlee's free from charges related to this incident.
And obviously that's why you have to be very careful, right? To not jump the gun in any of these situations. Yeah, a person can be charged, but you never know how things are going to play out. And I don't know that we know exactly how they did play out, but when you have a recording, as apparently Ashlee did, that seems to disprove the charges against you, all right, sometimes that can be pretty powerful. And that seems to have been the case here. For Melodee's paternal family, this situation is gut-wrenching. If Melodee had stayed in their care, there would never be any question of where she was or whether she was in danger, and to wonder for years where she was, only to find out that she had been in the same county the whole time, must have been an unpleasant surprise. And now it's not just her paternal family who doesn't know her whereabouts or how she's doing. No one can find her. And it seems, at least as far as we can tell, and many people have speculated on this, that it's only Ashlee who really knows what happened. Scams are everywhere, on your phone, in your inbox, even on your television screen. Looking at you, Tindler Swindler, what is it about scams that has pop culture so obsessed? Maybe it's because it can happen to anyone. Or maybe it's because we're all deeply fascinated by the psyche of someone who can lie with ease, cheat with no guilt, and convince the world they are who they say they are, even when they're not. Scamfluencers is a weekly podcast that takes you into the world of deception, sharing the stories of the day's most notorious scams. Like the recent episode of Natalie Cochran, the pharmacist femme fatale. It seemed like she had it all, a good job, loving husband, and 2 kids. But behind the scenes, Natalie was scamming friends and family, using fake contracts, fake government emails. She even faked cancer. But when the walls started closing in, she'll do anything to keep the lie alive until someone ends up dead. Listen to Scamfluencers now, wherever you get your podcasts.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
This is Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang from Las Culturistas with Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang.
JBL Tour Pro 3 earbuds are for those who don't conform to the standard.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into some touchscreen technology, how about the smart charging case, clear sound? These are not standard things. You're only going to get them with the JBL Tour Pro 3, baby.
And I love the sound of JBL when it goes, "Gong-boo." These earbuds are packed with innovation because you can't stand out by following others.
Touchscreen smart charging case for one-touch control, instant EQ customization, true adaptive noise canceling, and the one-of-a-kind audio transmitter, which can plug and play with everything from game consoles to in-flight entertainment.
The audio transmitter also allows for JBL Spatial 360 sound that takes any audio and turns it into a 360 immersive experience.
What more could you want? First doesn't follow. Grab a pair at jbl.com.
The major question right now in the minds of many, other than where Melodee may be located, is whether Ashlee had been planning something from the time she decided to enroll Melodee in an independent study program, or whether it was all the notices about truancy laws that triggered whatever plan she might have come up with. And I think the fact that Ashlee was willing to face potential charges rather than just come out and explain what's going on with Melodee, that's what has everyone so scared for Melodee. All we have right now is that she didn't go to school and she was on a trip with her mom. We don't have, at least at this point, a long history of child abuse or contacts with child protective services. We don't really know anything for certain at this point. We don't know that Melodee has been abducted, is in danger. We don't know if Ashlee dropped her off with a stranger, but we don't know that Melodee isn't in danger. A lot of people have asked this question more. If there was a simple or innocent explanation that ended with Melodee being perfectly fine, why wouldn't Ashlee just explain the situation and end this nightmare?
Cases like this one often fuel rampant speculation and theories on sites like Reddit and web sleuths, and this case is no exception. The first common theory is that Ashlee killed Melodee and went on that trip to dump her body. But this theory was out there before the public was made aware about the surveillance footage from the rental car office. Many people wonder whether Melodee could have trafficked Ashlee somehow, selling her to an unknown person for money. We do know that she has financial troubles, but this seemed to cause her more problems, not solve any. The outcome most people are hoping for is the possibility that Ashlee gave Melodee to someone she trusted. But who and why?
Melodee has a large extended family that has been missing her for a very long time. Her aunt Bridget Truitt told the LA Times, "We never stopped thinking about her or loving her or praying for her." And Melodee's uncle Marvin Meza told the Lompoc Record, "Had the court left Melodee with us, she wouldn't be missing. Our kids are doing good. As parents, we can say they are doing well." And Melodee's grandmother Lily hoped that her words would reach Melodee on TV, telling CNN, "If she's listening, we love you. We're here for you, and we just want you to be happy. Call me. There are numbers on the TV that you can call, and I will come pick you up." Melodee has extended family on her mother's side, hoping for her safe return too. Melodee's aunts, independent of her grandmother, released a statement urging the public to focus on finding Melodee and to let go of any judgment of Ashlee's mental health issues. Their statement read in part, "Our sole priority remains the safe return of Melodee and getting Ashlee the help she needs." And to me, Morf, this is, a lot of things that I would expect loved ones to say. They're worried about Melodee. They want her to come home safely. But there is one aspect that I think kind of jumps out at me. And it's, Melodee's paternal side of the family who wanted to take care of her, right? Petitioned the court to take care of her, thinking, oh, if that would only have happened, we wouldn't be going through any of this right now. Melodee would have been safe with us. And I think there's a really, really good chance that is true.
Yeah, as a family member that's missing Melodee and doesn't know where she's at, you wonder if they feel some kind of guilt, even though they're not responsible. They shouldn't feel guilt, but it's human nature. But I go back to where they were cut off by Ashlee in the first place. And most people, especially after the incident where Melodee's father was killed in that motorcycle accident, they're going to get closer with family. They're going to have people come help them get through the situation, help take care of Melodee. It's always good to have someone there to help you with that stuff. And Ashlee did the opposite. She pushed them away. So I feel really bad for the family that didn't get to see Melodee, didn't get to be in her life, and now they're wondering where she's at, what happened to her.
Yeah, I'm sure there's guilt there, even though there's no reason to really feel guilty. I don't think they had any options, right? The court is going to make whatever decision they're going to make, and you have to live with that.
As of the airing of this episode, we're just over a month since the welfare check was requested, and this entire mystery came into the public eye. Despite the strong possibility that Melodee is somewhere in Utah, she still hasn't been located. There are serious resources being put into this investigation, and if it were as simple as going to the spot Ashlee mentioned to Tyler and picking Melodee up, it likely would have been done by now. We don't know if the person that Ashlee supposedly claimed to have left Melodee with even exists. It could be a Casey Anthony-style Zanny the Nanny story. Hopefully, if that person is real, they do the right thing and come forward. Perhaps cooperating with investigators will help their outcome in all of this.
What a lot of people fear is that Ashlee didn't leave her daughter with someone and that person doesn't even exist. That could mean that Melodee met with violence, possibly at the hands of her own mother. There is a possibility that Ashlee did have a very real mental health episode stemming from her own traumatic childhood. Ashlee had a hard life. Her childhood was full of instability. It's been reported by many outlets that her father was abusive and her mother had to go to great lengths to get the two of them away from him. They spent some time homeless, bouncing around between different hotels and shelters, just waiting for him to find them and cause trouble. On at least one occasion, he broke the windows when Ashlee's mom, Lori, wouldn't let him inside. There are articles in the local paper about how rough her life was when she was just 9 years old, the same age that Melodee is now. As bad as her childhood may have been, that obviously would not be an excuse if something bad happened to Melodee at the hands of Ashlee.
Ashlee's family believes that Ashlee may have experienced postpartum depression after Melodee's birth, but never received any treatment. Her mother, Lori, said that the death of Melodee's father, just 6 months later, deeply and negatively affected Ashlee's mental health. If Ashlee was experiencing such paranoid thoughts that she felt that she needed to keep Melodee hidden, who would she even possibly trust to keep her safe? Ashlee was once close with her mother, Lori, but they haven't spoken in years. Ashlee cut her off just like she cut everyone else out of their lives. And the woman in the purple wig was described as being in her late 20s or early 30s. Multiple sources say that neighbors were concerned that, especially in her paranoid state, it's unexpected that Ashlee would be traveling with anyone other than Melodee.
And there's no doubt, right? The situation has been a nightmare for Melodee's family. Melodee's aunt, Lisbeth Mesa, told CBS News this whole situation has been like playing a game of Jumanji, explaining that every day you roll the dice and it's a whole different story. Melodee's older half-sister, Karina Meza, told NBC News, "We're all looking for answers." Police have been quick to point out that the Lompoc School District did the right thing and took the right steps. Lieutenant Chris Gottschall from the Criminal Investigations Division told KSBY.com, Lompoc Unified School District deserves credit for recognizing that something wasn't right, reaching out, and continuing to assist with this investigation. We're doing everything within our authority to support this investigation, including providing records and coordinating with the sheriff's office, read a statement from the Lompoc Unified School District.
This case is important to get out to the public because it's so recent, and most people believe they know exactly who has the answers. And this is a case where someone listening may be able to help with the resolution. One neighbor of Ashlee's, who asked to stay anonymous, told the Lompoc Record, "Imagine a world with more connections, where neighbors know each other and each other's kids, and we all kept track of each other. This is a wake-up call to the community to check on your neighbors and know where they are."
And to me, Morf, that's a very interesting statement. You know, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like when I was a kid, there was a lot more connection among neighbors. I don't really know a lot of my neighbors all that well. I don't know a lot of their kids' names. And again, maybe that's just me, but maybe it's also the times.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between wanting to know what's going on with your neighbors and being aware of who you're living near, but also not wanting to get too involved or seem like you're nosy. And so there's, you know, that line that you try not to cross, but you need to be aware of at least what's going on and who's living near you.
Melodee Buzzard is considered at risk. She is 4 feet 6 inches tall and around 60 pounds. Her natural hair, as far as we know, is long, dark brown, and curly, but she could be wearing a wig in any color or style. She may be even wearing a hoodie covering her hair. She has brown eyes. In the surveillance video from the rental car office, Melodee was wearing some kind of messenger bag. The last verified sighting of Melodee during that road trip was somewhere along the border of Utah and Colorado.
If you have any information about the whereabouts of Melodee Buzzard, you can call the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division at 805-681-4150. If you'd prefer to remain anonymous and still give authorities your tip, you can call the tip line at 805-681-4171 or submit information online at sbsheriff.org/home/anonymous-tip.
So, Morf, as we wrap this case up, you know, obviously this is breaking news. This is ongoing, and it's early on. We wanted to cover it because it's that important. But because it's so early on, you know, obviously there's probably a lot more information that is going to come out. And I know we'll be paying attention to that. I think a lot of people will.
It's definitely a case that a lot of people find interesting, and especially if they're parents, the concern that they would have if this was happening to their child. So I think that's why people gravitate towards this kind of case. And it's, to me, it has shades of Casey Anthony, and we know how terrible that outcome was. And I hope that's not the case here, but just that level of non-cooperation, it usually doesn't have a good reason. You know, if you want people to know that your child is okay, you help the police, you answer questions, you let them know where she's at. The fact that's not happening is really concerning.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times this type of scenario doesn't have a happy ending. I hope that's not the case here, but you know, that remains to be seen. I'm also thinking that, you know, we may get more information eventually about Ashlee's mental health, because it's brought up quite a bit in the research. I just don't think anyone has a real clear understanding of, the status of her mental health at this point in time.
Yeah, and part of that is because she cut her family off. So there's no one really there to help them or be in their lives. So what was going on every day? What was Ashlee thinking every day? We just don't know. And that's a frustrating part of this case.
But I think, it's pretty easy to see why people would gravitate towards a case like this. They speculate on it. Obviously there are a lot of strange things that have already happened. There may be more strange things to come. I go back to one of the questions that, people are asking. If there was a way to clear all of this up, to prove that Melodee was okay, you would think Ashlee would have taken that opportunity because, who wants all the scrutiny? Who wants people speculating that you've done harm to your child? Who wants people outside their home chanting? People lined up on your sidewalk? And I think that has got a lot of people thinking that, something's not right here.
Yeah, it certainly seems like this whole situation's not going to win over fans or people that are supporting Ashlee. If anything, it's probably going to do just the opposite. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and how she's perceived and how she's treated and how she's accepted or not accepted by neighbors and acquaintances.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to, have to do with what ultimately comes out in this case. But again, I think that's, something that I know you and I will be paying attention to, but I think a lot of people will. I mean, this is already a pretty big case as far as the attention that it's getting. It could become huge, even bigger, depending on what information comes out. You said more if there's, a Casey Anthony-like vibe to this case. A lot of people have mentioned that. And we know the media storm that case generated. This could be similar, depending on, what comes down the road, what comes out in the future. But I think that's something that we're going to have to wait to find out. But that's it for our episode on Melodee Buzzard. As always, if you love the show, but haven't done so yet, take a minute, go out, leave us a review, leave a 5-star rating. Also, keep telling your friends. Word of mouth about the podcast really helps us out.
If you want to find us on social media, we're on every major platform. Just search your favorite for Criminology Podcast. And for news and old episodes, head over to our website, criminologypodcast.com. And if you want to join a discussion about the show or episodes we cover, head over to Facebook and check out the Criminology Podcast Discussions and Fans group.
So that's it for another episode of Criminology, but Morf and I will be back with all of you next Saturday night with a brand new episode. So until then, for Mike
and Morf,
we'll talk to you next week.
Take care, everyone.